The United Nations estimates that there are more than 280 million people who are currently living outside the countries which they were born in. So that is more than 280 million people who are migrants in different countries. So immigration has always been with us. People have always moved around from place to place. They've never really stuck to one place. Like, people have always moved from place to place over time, and so migration is not really a new thing. It's something that has always been done. Canada seems to be the people's choice at this point in time. Like, a lot of people from all over the world are looking to migrate to Canada, and in fact Canada has been very welcoming of immigrants. As long as you meet their parameters, they're happy to welcome you in their country. Hi guys, my name is Fee. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Fee Phenomenal. If this is your first time here, thank you very much for choosing to watch this video. Now please subscribe, and so that you get notified anytime I post a video. And to the old viewers and subscribers, thank you very much for being here as always. In the next couple of videos, I'm going to attempt to break down the different parts for migrating to Canada, both the temporary parts and the permanent parts for migration to Canada. There are different options for you. Whatever suits you, whatever works best for you, it's for you to find out. So I'm going to just be giving you a brief summary of all of the available options and all of the available choices for you. I'm going to be starting with the express entry. This seems to be the most popular one, the most popular choice for most people looking to migrate. But there are other options that we do not know about. There are other options that I didn't even know about when I was trying to migrate to Canada. I'm going to try to give you as much information as possible on these different parts, and I'll be leaving the links down below for you to look through to see what works for you. I'll be looking at my laptop so that I make sure I'm giving you guys the right information. So what is the express entry pathway for immigration? The express entry pathway is an online system used to manage 3 immigration pathways for skilled workers. So people that already have work experience can use these 3 pathways to migrate to Canada. So the very first one, which I'm going to be talking about, is the Canadian Experience class. So with the Canadian Experience class, you would need 1 year of work experience within Canada in the last 3 years before your application. So you would need to have worked in Canada for 1 year within the last 3 years before your application, and as a temporary resident of Canada. So you mustn't have been either a refugee or a permanent resident of Canada when you got that experience. It must be paid experience, either full-time or part-time. So basically, for those who have experience working in Canada in the past 3 years, 1 year of experience. So the NOC for this is for skill types and skill levels 0, A and B. Is for managerial positions, professional positions, technical or skilled positions. And when applying for this class, you must make sure that the roles which you had performed in that employment in the previous, within the last 3 years, meets the description of that role in the NOC description. So when you're applying for this, you have to make sure that you sit down and look at the NOC and see if the experience you have falls into any of those classes, and make sure that it closely matches it, and go ahead with that. Then for the requirements for education, there are no educational requirements. So you don't have to have any educational certificates to apply for this, to fall under this class, but it helps. So if you have either Canadian education or foreign education, it can help with giving you points. It can help with increasing your points. So there are no educational requirements, but yes, having educational certificates can help with adding scores to you and just giving you an edge over any other person that doesn't have the educational qualification. As with most immigration pathways in Canada, you have to write a written test and you have to meet a certain band to be qualified. So for this pathway, the band would be between 5 to 7, depending on the NOC that you are using. As I've told you, there are 3 different NOC skills and levels. So depending on the NOC that you decide to use, you have to score a band between 5 to 7. There's also a need for you to have proof of funds. You have to have a certain amount of money to prove that you can at least take care of yourself while you look for a job once you move to Canada. For an individual, that amount would be $13,213. You have to have that to show that you can take care of yourself, and with each person that is added, there's an additional amount that you have to have. You may not need to prove funds if you already have a valid job offer within Canada, or if you're already working in Canada. If you can show that you're already earning in Canada, there's no need for you to have proof of fund. If this applies to you, then you don't have to have any proof of funds. Then some of the documents that you would need for applying for the Canadian Experience class would be your language test. We already spoke about that. Between band 5 to band 7, you would need you would need a police report once you're invited to apply. You would need the result of your medical test once you're invited to apply. Now, if you have educational qualification, it's not compulsory, but you can add it to give yourself an additional edge. If you have a nomination from a province, you can add it to give yourself an extra edge. If you have a job offer, you can add it to give yourself an extra edge. So the next pathway would be the federal skilled worker. This would be where I have some experience, because this was the pathway that I used to migrate to Canada. So the federal skilled worker is for people who have at least 1 year of work experience in the last 10 years before the application in a foreign country. So if you've worked in a foreign country for at least 1 year in the last 10 years before your application, you can apply through this path. This path is usually for professionals, those who have some sort of professional education and professional certification, like lawyers, doctors, accountants. This is one of the most popular paths for them. They are able to migrate through this. So if you can show that you have worked for at least a year in a foreign country, this is a pathway that is open to you. And the experience must be in the NOC within which you're applying for. So if you're applying for NOC for lawyers, it's not enough that you say I was educated as a lawyer, but you must show that you have worked as a lawyer, so it must match the NOC. So again, it's very important that you go and look at your NOC and see what the descriptions of that NOC is, and see if your experience tallies and closely match it to that NOC. So the NOC skills level and type are 0, A or B. So for, again, managerial, professional, technical or skilled job. So if you have experience in these areas, this would be a very good pathway for you if you have the experience in a foreign country. And so the educational requirement would be for you to at least have a secondary school certificate. If you have a higher qualification, it adds more points for you. Secondary school gives you the basic points. You have university education, gives you the next available points. You have a master's, gives you the next available point. And if you have a PhD, gives you the next available points. So it's the point-based system, and everything that you can do to add more points to yourself would help. So if you have education, foreign education or education within Canada, you add this and it should and it will give you points. So the basic level that you need would be secondary, but the higher you go, the higher the points you receive. So for the language test, you have to meet at least a band 7 across board for reading, writing, speaking and listening. 7 across board. So again, as with your education, the higher your score, the higher points you get. So if you get an 8 instead, it will give you more points. If you get 7.5 instead of 7, it will give you more points. So the higher your scores, the better for you. Again, you would also need proof of funds. You have to have at least $13,213 as proof of funds. But again, if you have a valid job offer, or you can prove that you're already working within Canada, then you should be able to put in an application without having to send in proof of funds. So what are the documents that you would require? So before you are able to apply, you would need your educational credentials assessment and your language test to be able to create a profile. So these are the two first documents that you need to have. And once you're invited to apply, you'd also need your passport, you need your police report, you would need your medical certificate. So after you've done your medical exam, you need that report. If you have a valid job offer, you include that. If you have a provincial nomination, you include that also. You include that as well. You also include your proof of funds, or proof that you do not need to have proof of funds. If you're successful, you can live anywhere but Quebec. Anywhere but Quebec is available for you to live in Canada. And then the next one, the third and final one for the express entry pathway, would be the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So this is for people that have some sort of skill, some sort of trade, like cooks, chefs, bakers, butchers. Like, this is for them. So you must have at least 2 years of work experience in the last 5 years before your application, and you must have this experience in occupations listed under 4 major occupation type and 2 minor occupation type classified under skills. You must also be able to prove that you can do this work independently. You are still not in training, so you can do this independently. You must also meet the skill sets set out under the NOCB. You must have a valid job offer or certificate of qualification from either a Canadian province, the federal government, or a Canadian territory. So you must have this to fall under the Federal Skills Trades Program. And for this, there is no educational qualification required. You don't have to have any educational qualification, but again, if you have, it would help improve your points, so you could add it. So if you are educated either within Canada or you are foreign trained, for foreign trained, you would need to get an assessment, but that is also acceptable and it can help improve your points. So like I said, you must have a valid job offer or certificate of qualification. So for your language skills, for this now is kind of divided. So for reading and writing, you have to have at least a band 4. And then for speaking and listening, you have to have at least a band 5. So this would be the requirements for you under this class. Again, the proof of funds will also be $13,213 for an individual. It increases with the number of people under the application. The documents which you would need would be your language test, a valid job offer, or a qualification certificate. Once you've been invited to apply, you'd also need your passport. Have educational qualification, you include your educational credential assessment. If you have a nomination from a province, you include that. That also gives you additional points. You include your police report, you include your medical test results also, and you also include your proof of funds. Again, if you have a valid job offer, you may not need to give proof of funds, or if you have if you can show that you're already working within Canada, you may not need to include proof of funds. Again, like with the other programs, you can settle anywhere in Canada but Quebec. Quebec has its own immigration pathway which it manages by itself, and so it's not managed by the federal government on their behalf, so which is why most of the time you see you can settle anywhere but Quebec. So some of the things to know now that you have information about the different pathways under the express entry, the steps that you need to take to begin your immigration process to Canada. The first step would be to answer questions to know what suits you. So which of these three options suits you? Like, you might have a general idea, but answering these questions would give you insights to know which best suits you. So there is a link that I'll be leaving. I'll leave that link also to help you with understanding which of those pathways suits you best. You can also read up on the different pathways to see which suits you best. You don't necessarily have to answer those questions, but I'll just say answer those questions. It will help you. It makes it easier for you, and you don't have to read that. The next step would be for you to go ahead and write your language test, and if applicable to you, you do your educational credential assessment, and that begins your whole journey. And so once you receive your language test and your educational credential assessment, you can go ahead to then simulate your score. I would even actually advise that you do this before you get your language test or you assess your educational credentials, largely just because at least with your language test it gives you a target for, okay, I need to score 8, I need to score 9 based on the other factors that affect me individually. I need to score this high to be able to meet a very nice point that would ensure that I get nominated whenever I put in my application and there is a round of invitation. So once you simulate your score and you meet all of the minimum requirements, you go ahead to create a profile and submit it. So you populate the information required in filling out that profile. It will be information from your test, your assessment, your passport. Just fill out a profile on yourself, and then you put that in and wait to get invited. So if you meet the cutoff for the next round of invitation, you would get invited to apply, and you would have 60 days after that invitation to go ahead and put in your application. So you submit all of the documents required. This would be the point when you would need to get your police report and do your medicals, and so you would include that information. You would need information from your passport, your ECA, your language test. You need to include your degrees. You need to include details about what you've done since you turned 18 or in the last 10 years. So different details about your life. They would have different questions to ask. Once you filled out the application, you would need to pay your fees. The fees basically submit the application. Basically, like if you fill out the application without paying the fees, it's just like you have a document hanging there. It hasn't dropped anywhere. So paying the fees means that you have submitted the application. So there are 3 fees which you have to pay. The fee for biometrics, that's $85, and then you also have to pay the processing fee and the right of permanent residency fee. This fee is $1,365, so you mustn't pay them all at the same time. I think you pay the processing fee first. Processing fee is $515, and the right of permanent residency fee is $850 that you can pay after you've put in your application. So you make the payment. So you go in and have your biometrics taken. Having your biometrics taken means they thumbprint all 10 fingers, and then they take your pictures and all of that, and then you go back to waiting for the timeline. Usually for processing the application would be 6 months, so you go back to waiting for 6 months. Now with the situation with the pandemic, it may be taking a little longer than 6 months to complete your application, but yeah, that's usually the timeline. So you just wait, just keep on checking on your profile, and if anything comes up in your life, you just provide them with an update. So like if you get married while waiting for your application to be approved, you update them using a web form. If you have a baby, if you get a divorce, if something changes in your situation, inform them using a web form. So you just keep waiting for an update from IRCC telling you if your application has been accepted or rejected. So just some information to have in mind when trying to use the express entry. Number 1, you have to have some experience between 1 to 2 years, depending on the pathway you decide to go with. The proof of funds for one person at this time, because it may change from time to time, it may go up, it may come down, is $13,213. This is for an individual. Again, like I said, it increases with each additional person. So you just have to check out the proof of funds skills to see how much you need for your family if you're not doing it alone. The fees that you pay would be $850 for the processing fee, $515 for right of permanent residency, and biometrics for $85. You can also apply for Provincial nomination program through the express entry pathway, because I remember when I put in my application, it asked if what provinces I would want to give access to my profile. So that was in case they were interested in giving me nomination. Nobody nominated me, but okay. But yeah, that could also give you more points to take you higher. Again, like I keep saying, you can settle anywhere but Quebec. Quebec has its own immigration pathway, and so that is not managed by the federal government. So if you want to settle in Quebec, you have to apply through its own immigration pathway. And then your passport, which you will be using for the application, has to be valid for the 6 months within which the application will be processed, because your visa will need to be put on a valid passport. So if you know your passport is expiring in some time to come, it's just advisable that you go ahead and renew it. Like I had to renew my passport way before it expired, just because I wanted to have a valid passport whenever they called me on. So I didn't want a situation where the passport which I would present for the visa would be different from the passport number which I gave them. And so if your passport is nearing expiring, it's just advisable that you go ahead and renew it. Thanks guys for watching today. I hope this video has really been insightful. Like some of the information I shared today, completely new to me. Like I saw it while I was doing my research for this video. So hope this video has been insightful. So if you are still looking to migrate, what pathway are you looking to migrate under the express entry? And if you are already here in Canada, did you migrate through the express entry platform? If you did, what pathway did you migrate through? Thanks guys for watching once again. I really appreciate all of the love. Thanks to all my new subscribers, thanks to the old viewers and subscribers. Please like, share and comment on this video to help it grow, to take the information to different people, and also subscribe to the channel so you get notified whenever I post a video. Please follow me on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, I'm PH_3E. Please follow me. Thanks once again guys, and do have a lovely rest of your week. Goodbye.